Namaskar. Welcome to Dr. Rao's Temple of Learning. This is your YouTube channel, Spiritual Management Course. Today we are discussing the discourse entitled Energy of Consciousness, Part 3. Yes, this is Dr. A.P. Rao, Vice President, Telecom Division, High Physics Laboratory India Private Limited, MIDC Ranjangaon, Pune, Maharashtra, India. So welcome to the part 3 of the discourse, Energy of Consciousness. The summary of last part says, we have seen that brain is the instrument of mind which gets enlightened in presence of consciousness. So, brain may advise the mind to learn, understand, or feel the presence of consciousness around. The spiritual management approach says that the brain resonates at different frequencies and in turn, different mind states are generated. The consciousness is located in one's own mind, further external to the dimensions of the physical world. This is what we have seen in part 2. And now, the consciousness as a physical process is caused by the organization of energy in the brain, and this energy further supports our brain to yield or sense external consciousness. This external consciousness which is always there around us. Thus, the spiritual management approach says that our intelligence is not localized anywhere in our brain. Actually, the brain serves as a kind of neurobiological transducer. It integrates and defines our experience in relation to the higher energy and information forms. In fact, we are embedded in that experience beyond our normal consciousness capability. Consciousness and its field. As we have discussed earlier, consciousness is the quality or state of awareness in general. With respect to an individual, everybody is born with a conscious life energy that lies with everyone as ground energy, around which the energy of thoughts is spread in the form of electromagnetic energy. In other words, brain's electromagnetic field arises from induced electromagnetic field of neurons, which are there itself, and this endogenous electromagnetic field called consciousness gets stimulated from the external electromagnetic field of the space around. There are two terms, pure consciousness and cosmic consciousness. Pure consciousness, the unified ground state of consciousness in which consciousness is identified with the unified field, and cosmic consciousness in which the experience of pure consciousness is permanently established along with waking, dreaming, and deep sleep states of consciousness. In this state, consciousness maintains its identification with the unified field while the mind and emotions are fully engaged in activity. Does the consciousness continue after our brain dies? Spiritual management approach says yes, it is continued. Recently, a research article by Michael and Rhoda entitled as Does Consciousness Continue Beyond Death? A Search for the Certainty have suggested and proved that consciousness has a looping or recursive nature and known to have a measurable effect on the environment. This is what the spiritual management approach of Indian mythology is speaking about. That individual consciousness is our soul that remains after death of the body in the form of memory uploaded to another strong medium. Scientific research reports that our nerve system react even on our imaginative fantasy which is visualized with closed eyes. You must have observed this many times. With modern scanners, it is possible to show that the optical center of the brain act as if we are seeing even though we have our eyes closed. But what is it then that activates the optical center for such observation? It is spiritual intelligence, which is also called as the intelligence of the soul. Here, the optical center is activated through inner thinking and through the higher guidance of the soul, my spiritual management approach indicates. Basically, consciousness is said to be a property of quantum-like processes within a brain field resonating with a core of structure which may be the neural substrate of consciousness. This consciousness field is present due to presence of conscious being and perpetual harmonic oscillations of the fundamental particles in the space. So, the consciousness field is due to thought energy and perpetual motion of oscillating particles, and combination of these two makes the surrounding space filled with energy, that is energy of consciousness we are speaking about in this discourse. The spiritual management approach indicates that the space is filled with energy of vibrations, consciousness field. This is also proposed by the string theory of sciences. Recently, in 2021, a solid made up of electrons is investigated using scanning tunneling microscope of a graphene sheet showing a honeycomb arrangement of electrons which is like a solid within a solid. Through cooling, the electrons travel slow enough and the repulsion begins to dominate their behavior. Finally, they find arrangement that minimize their total energy such as a honeycomb pattern. The photograph shown is the solid, that is electron, within a solid, that is atom. The time is not far away when we would measure the vibrations of the consciousness field in sciences through new technologies. We have already seen in different discourses of spiritual management course that our body is a combination of casual body, which keeps seeds of memory and desire, etc., subtle body that consists of emotions, intellect, and ego, and physical body that keeps the vital force and is made up of macroscopic matter. So, brain means individual physical brain in the body that gets manifested in the form of actions or thoughts through mind, and these mind waves are connected to each other in the ocean of consciousness. My spiritual management approach suggests that the consciousness may have its own space-time system and its own system of ontologically independent and spatio-temporally organized events. Ontology simply means the branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being, and spatio-temporal means pertaining or relating to both space and time. Presently, this concept seems to be more near to parascience, but will be included in sciences in due course of time. Spiritual management says that intellect is the reflection of consciousness only. This demonstrates beyond any doubt that in vision we do not perceive the world as it is actually, but as the brain computes it most probably to be. It is same as when we observe cloud in the sky, every mind find different shapes or pictures depending on his perception. This phenomenal consciousness, in Sanskrit we call it Abhutpurva Chetana, must be allotted its own real space, may be called phenomenal space. In Sanskrit we call it Abhutpurva Sthan. That's all for this part 3. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. We shall continue the discussion in concluding part 4 of the discourse Energy of Consciousness. Thank you very much.